What's going on, guys? It's Kude here, and today we are doing the third video in the 4.0 installment. Everything you need to know about update 4.0, but this one isn't directly about 4.0. It's mostly about towers in general, because there's a big overview of towers and in the progression of how they monetize towers, how they release them, how they work, what's the best towers to go for, what were the best towers, all sorts of questions that may be answered for you in this video, and what tower gear is most desirable in your case. I have from Tower 4 all the way to Twisted Tower. Now, if you're watching this video after 4.0 came out, Classic Tower is probably already released. So just imagine Classic Tower is here. Alright, there's no difference because they're mostly going to be the same tower. But the early ones are definitely the different outliers. So firstly, Tower 4. This tower was the most unique, but it was also the first ever tower in Mortal Kombat Mobile. So basically, the Tower 200 was a team without any equipments, and there was no boss fights. It was just diamond battles for those stages. And also, the main reward was just Cabal. Kind of bad. I wouldn't have wanted a Cabal for grinding 200 towers. And for standard participation, this is how you get epic, rare, and common pieces. The Tower 4 is sought after by a lot of people, but for new players and some people who have maybe even seen this tower before, the equipment isn't as desirable because you can't do brutalities with it. 0 of these equipments work with brutalities. So no characters rely on these equipments whatsoever. They are all standalone. It's a little odd. I'm not really sure why they did it like that to begin with, but that's just what they wanted to do with the first ever tower in Mortal Kombat. It's still a pretty cool tower, but it's not my favorite. Besides the tower being released, how else were you supposed to acquire Tower 4 gear? The only equipment pack that has been released with the original Tower 4, and you can see here it was a 5% chance for an epic gear, and then there was 35% chance for a rare, and 60% chance for uncommon. For this being the only pack to exist for it is kind of absurd. Luckily though, they had to change that with the second release of the Tower 4 and the second release of the Lin Kuei. So let's go see what the next tower was. It was Lin Kuei Tower, and this is the original version, which is noted as the best. Firstly, you got Brutality set right away, guaranteed at the 200 reward. So here you go. You had Kuai Ying's Scepter. That was the first piece for Sub-Zero's Brutality. And then you had Kuai Ying's Bracers. That was the second piece required for his Brutality. And then you had these 3 characters for the Lin Kuei Tower. Here were the boss fights. I'm not really sure the difference between all of them. So you can see here, for standard participation, Kuai Ying's Bracers are missing because it's already in the main reward. They just didn't want to list it twice. Frost Mask. Here's a good look at some of the gear. Oh yeah, so for Frost Mask, you can see here it applies to Sub-Zero, even though this isn't Brutality gear. You just get 100% chance to apply Frostbite to the whole team at the start of the match, which is crazy. And then we have Frost Orb. This isn't character specific, it's just a nice gear that I wish I had maxed on most accounts. And then Corey Blade. This one's really nice as well, but it's nothing too fancy. But here's where things get interesting. Cryomancer Armor, that one is decent, but it's Frost Axe, where you have another gear that gives extra boosts to Sub-Zeros. And then Ice Gloves. And then here's the Brutality gear piece. The funny thing is that it's a common gear. Usually the Brutality set is 1 rare and 1 epic. But there's Brutality set for common and epic? Like, what the heck? It's weird. So that is the original Lin Kuei Tower. I want to show the boss equipments here. It's pretty hard, but in the end, it is very much worth it to complete this tower. Doesn't look like there's any insane modifiers besides opponents are immune to dot effects, which is already a thing, and then Raiden and Shao Kahn are restricted characters. I would love to have this tower return, but that is the original Lin Kuei Tower. Now you're probably wondering, what were the original Lin Kuei Tower paid packs like? The answer is, they removed them. I don't know why, but they're gone. And I was like, spawning them back in just isn't worth it. They just remove them anyways. But I'm sure it wasn't that high of a chance anyway, so who really cares? Let's move on to the next tower after Lin Kuei. We have Black Dragon and Black Dragon Tower Fatal. This is the first time they brought a normal and fatal tower in Mortal Kombat Mobile. And you can see here the tower design here of having the tower kind of lower on the device. It ended here with Black Dragon. This was the last tower to use that low tower design. You can see here for normal tower, it doesn't light up, but for Fatal, it does. Also, you're fighting 2 characters instead of 3, which you're going to be fighting in Fatal. It's yellow with the design, and then you can see here you fight 3 characters, not just 2. So for the Fatal Tower, you had a chance for Black Dragon Tremor and only him, which is kind of bad, but you also had a chance for Nomad's Buzzsaw, Psych Bomb, Scoundrel's Cybernetic Heart, and Smuggler's Luck. Here were the boss fights. Doesn't look like much changed around there. And then for standard participation, you can see here all the equipment is listed, luckily, this time around. Nomad's Buzzsaw is the Brutality gear for Cabal. And then Nomad's Deadly Vapors is the second piece required to do Cabal's Brutality. The interesting thing to note is that this is the first time we had a epic and rare gear being a Brutality set, which ends up being very common. And then we have Psych Bomb, which is a very good gear overall. I highly recommend going for it if you can. And then Smuggler's Luck. This one's also really good. Besides Cabal's Brutality gear, we have Scoundrel's Cybernetic Heart, which is Kano's first Brutality gear. And then we have Scoundrel's Elbow Blades. This is the second piece required to do Kano's Brutality. So 2 Brutalities and 2 sets. This is the first tower that they needed to start getting the trend going. You know what I mean? Anytime soon. But for now, it's probably not going to be making a return. But this is the 3rd tower in the game. And it's very notable as being awesome. Most people want this tower to return. The last boss fight was pretty darn difficult. So I forgot to mention Sub-Zero's Brutality Pack. You can see here, this was the first Brutality Pack ever made. 2019, December 13th. Yeah, well, it's not a bad Brutality Pack, I guess. You get some Sub-Zero chances and also a random diamond card chance for 50%. That's kind of weird. Usually they give like a 50% chance for all the characters. And then you have 50% chance for both of the Brutality gears needed. 50% chance for a common piece. Now, I bet that didn't go over very well. And then we have Kano's Brutality Pack, which was released around the same time that Scorpion's Brutality Pack was released, because they had to go back and update this later. You can see here, 50% chance. This is more like it. And then we have 2 decent equipments, the rares and the epic gear. For Cabal's Brutality, they went back to the same formula and went 25%, 25%, and then 50% chance for a random diamond, 50% chance for Nomad's Buzzsaw, and 50% chance for the Nomad's Deadly Vapors. I don't know about that. For Black Dragon gear, let's have a look at what options were available. So for Black Dragon, we had the Diamond Bundle, which was 1 diamond card guaranteed and a 5% chance for epic Black Dragon gear. It was $20 US. And then for the epic pack, you only had 1 epic for $20, which did not last very long. The rare bundle included a 30% chance for an epic, but it was still $20. Oh boy. And then we had the large bundle, which had a 5% chance for an epic, and then 35% chance for rare. And that is really it for the Black Dragon equipment packs. This is where they started packs in the first place, or started to standardize them. It was with the Black Dragon Tower. Something that I think is really cool about the Tower of War is that all you had to do was make sure to kill them with 1 character. Because if you die with 1 character, you lose the match. But everything else goes. Fire, all sorts of stuff. It's pretty cool. Lin Kuei Tower was where we first saw the standard for the modifiers, and things really didn't change after this. Dot immunity, of course, no dot effects, and then timed before the battle ends. So after Black Dragon, we got the Shirai Ryu Tower, normal and fatal. People love these towers. So let's have a look at the Black Dragon normal tower. You can see here, the equipments were not that strong. At least, I don't think so. We had common and rare pieces. And now let's go to the tower awards. What could you get? Just Kano. That's it. Wow. That's not good. I wouldn't have wanted to play the Black Dragon normal. But for the Shirai Ryu Tower normal, we had a big redesign for the tower, which moved it up a notch. And the tower became more difficult, you can see. At least I would assume so, because 3 epics versus only having like 1 or 2 is kind of a big deal for each character. But the actual characters you're fighting are even more challenging. That's just my personal opinion. And then you have the main reward for the normal tower, and this is where things starting to get standardized for the normal tower. It's only a set number of characters though. So normally, for every new tower release, the character diamonds are every single character besides a few. And we'll go over to that when we get to it. But for the Shirai Ryu Tower normal, you did have a chance to get Dark Fate Terminator, and it was also at battle 100 for the fatal Shirai Ryu Tower. This was the first tower to include Dark Fate Terminator, which is what I found kind of notable. Let's go to the fatal here. So Shirai Ryu Tower was extremely weird. The boss fight was extremely difficult, but not all max gears, which is nice. The tower award, though, was the weirdest part. You can see here, we have Hellspawn Scorpion, Kold War Scorpion, MK11 Scorpion, and Strike Force. That's not weird, but we have 3 brutalities. 3. Yeah, that's a lot of brutalities for one tower. This is the first and last time they brought 3 brutalities. We have Champions, Nunchuck, that's the first set piece required for Liu Kang. Then we have Edenian Bracelets, which is the first one for Jade, and this is the second one for Jade. Then we have Scorpion's Burning Vengeance. If we look here at the boss fights, doesn't look like much change there. And then for the standard participation, we get to look at the last brutality pieces. We have this one. This is the second brutality piece for Liu Kang. And then we have Spectral's Infernal Chains. So a lot of people like this tower, mainly for Scorpion and Liu Kang's brutality. I don't see many people really want Jade's brutality gear, but I think it's pretty good. The thing about the Shirai Ryu Tower is that there's so many character-specific gears here for brutalities that there's no notable gears that people use for anything else. I guess you could say this one's kind of useful, resistance to fire, and then you can recover health from fire dot instead of taking damage. But that's about it. Every other gear here is all for specific characters. Even this one is, I consider this one to be Scorpion's favorite equipment. I don't know who else you'd want to use this on, to be honest. Unless you are in dire need of a block-breaking chance. For the Fatal version, you can see here, there's some new things here with the tower. Brutalize has been enabled, which means they can do brutality against you for mid-match and the final brutality. And then the next thing they did was Inferno, which is active character is affected by fire dot every few seconds. I think that one's not usually used by 200 battles. But indestructible equipment, which means equipment worn by opponents cannot be destroyed. Tanya's strategy was broken, so you could not destroy any gears for these characters. And this ended up becoming a trend for each tower Fatal version. For Shirai Ryu's tower packs, it was kind of interesting. Instead of being $20 for one epic, it was only $10. So they dropped the price immediately. Considering the tower had more brutalities, that's kind of weird. For the rare pack, it was 6 for the rare pack. And then for the grand pack, it was 20 instead of 16. Yeah, these numbers just changed constantly. For the large pack, it was 12, with a 5% chance for an epic still, which was kind of bad. Then we had the starter pack, which had a $5 price tag and 5% chance for an epic and 150 souls. Alright, so brutality packs for the Shirai Ryu Tower. We had Jade's brutality pack, same as Cabal and Kano's. And then Liu Kang's brutality pack doesn't include Fire God Liu Kang because he wasn't out at the time. For the Scorpion brutality pack, it was all 12s. Instead of being a 50% chance for the equipment, it was only 10%. Holy crap. That is a major drop. What the heck happened there? Why did they make it only a 10% chance for his gear and 20% chance for the rare? Why not copy all these other ones? Oh my goodness. Now, after Shirai Ryu Tower, we had the original Tower of Horror being remade into Tower of Horror, well, the new version. I don't know how to put it. They call it Tower of Horror 2020. So I'm just going to call it Tower of Horror 2020. That's the good name for it. And it came out with Nightmare Tower. Nightmare Tower was a new one, but Tower of Horror was the remake. For the Tower of Horror remake, most of us know that this is just not good. That the bosses have been increased significantly, but the rewards have not. You get a few more characters. That's it. It's all circle shadows, by the way. And then the boss fights have been upped. Well, there wasn't boss fights on the original, but now there are boss fights for this version of the Tower of Horror. And there's no epic reward, so you have to get the standard participation still. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this one. Nothing else has changed here. The good news is that they didn't make it indestructible, so nowadays this tower would be pretty easy. So at the time when they remade this tower and released it, I think it wasn't good for the player base because it was probably at least 2 or 3 times more difficult. So people who wanted it to come back, this probably wasn't the way they meant it. They wanted it to return. They wanted some epic gears confirmed, kind of like Kold War Tower and Nightmare, which we'll get to in a second. But that was the Tower of Horror remake. So for Tower of Horror, this was the remake packs because they didn't have enough packs around for the original Tower of Horror, so they had to make new ones. And that's why there's a new tower icon, and we're going to review these. So 150 souls, same chance for the Shirai Ryu Tower. And then we had this one, which was 5 Tower of Horror cards with a 5% chance to epic gear. And then we had a free pack. This was a one-time offer, and they don't do this anymore, I guess. But you can see here, they listed all of the chances for getting an actual Tower of Horror gear, which is pretty cool. I wish they would do this because they always say like 5% chance for an epic, but you always wonder, what are the chances for each individual epic though? They don't go into detail, but this was pretty cool that they had a one-time offer. This basically guaranteed a $10 pack for you. I wish they would do this every single time. Just give us a free $10 pack, pretty much. I don't know why they don't. And then we have a super Tower of Horror pack, which kind of feels out of place, but it's 40 Tower of Horror gears, but it's 5% chance for an epic. Oh boy. Alright, so that was it for the Tower of Horror. But for the Nightmare Tower, it looks very similar to the Tower of Horror, but like I said, there's a lot of differences between these two. You can see here, it has 2 brutalities rather than having 0. We have Beyond's Tormentor, which is for Noob Saibot, and Thunderlord's Stormweaver, which was for Raiden. Thunderlord Seagull was the second piece for Raiden's brutality, and this was the second piece for Noob Saibot's brutality. Some of the equipment here is pretty good, like Demon Bat's pretty fun. Killer Jacket's really nice. I still use this pretty often because of the shield. This is the part that confuses people the most. There's more character-specific tower gear. You have Family Tools, which has 75% chance to resist stun, and then it had an extra boost for Leatherface. And the gear is pretty much made for Leatherface. And this is the Nightmare Tower because it's for the Nightmare characters. This one was for Freddy Krueger, and then this one was for Jason Voorhees. This tower is amazing, and it's probably going to be making a return. Before we look at the paid packs, they added Resurrection for this battle. And this is, I think, maybe one of the first times they introduced Resurrection, at least for Tower 200. I don't know about 1 through 200 on those other ones. Alright, so let's look at the Nightmare Tower paid packs. Alright, so for the Nightmare Tower paid packs, we had a $20 Diamond Bundle, which is very similar to the Shirai Ryu version. And then we had Nightmare Gold Bundle, Epic Nightmare Tower Gear Bundle, which was 3 guaranteed Nightmare Tower Epics. I think that's the first time they improved it, because it was 1 before this. Yes, Nightmare Tower was the first tower to introduce the 3 guaranteed epic gears instead of having only, 1 guaranteed epic for $20. And we had the rare, which increased it slightly, I guess, from 6 cards to 7, and then upped the epic chance by 5%. Interesting. For the Grand Tower pack, it was still only 5% for the epics. And then for the large, it was also 5% chance for the epics. This is the normal pack, which I'm sure everyone already knows. But they didn't give us a free tower pack this time around, which is unfortunate. For the second time the Nightmare Tower came back, they gave us a free equipment pack from the inbox for getting 700,000 wins with the tower. So for the Nightmare Tower, there were 2 Brutality packs that got introduced, which were Noob Saibot and Raiden. For Noob Saibot, it was 50% chance for all of them, and then for Raiden, it was, well, 16, 16, 16, but then 50% chance. The next tower after Nightmare was Kold War, and these 2 sparked an interesting trend in Mortal Kombat towers. They both did not have normal versions of each other, and they had guaranteed epics at Tower 200. You could say that the first tower to do that was Lin Kuei, because it had a confirmed specific epic gear, but these 2 kind of standardized it, at least for the time being. But for Kold War Tower, this tower was pretty difficult because they had dot immunity, it was timed, there was Arctic wind, so you got frozen, and then on top of that, indestructible, and opponents will apply bleed on just combo enders, well, pretty much attacks in a sense, which is not fun to deal with. And a lot of people rage quit for this one, but the rewards are really solid. Bloodmaster's Iron Curtain, General Father's Gun, Missile Gap, and Weather Warfare. This one is amazing. I love this gear. But the brutalities for this tower were Bloodmaster's Iron Curtain. That was the first for Scarlet. And then we had the Bloodmaster's Bloody Finka. That was the second piece required for Scarlet's brutality. For Sonya, it was General Father's Gun. This is the first piece required. And then for the second piece, this is what it required here for Sonya Blade. Nothing else is really interesting about this tower. It's pretty standard. The boss fights are roughly the same as well. But yeah, that's really it for the Kold War Tower. What were the packs like, though? For the paid packs for the Kold War Tower, you can see here the 3 epics for $20. That's pretty standard. And then for the rare Kold War Tower pack, you can see here they upped the chance on the epic Kold War Tower gears. It went from 10% to 25%. They must have not been selling very well because they had to up the chance multiple times. And for good reason. They got to make it more guaranteed rather than making it like 1% chance for an epic, you know what I mean? Diamond bundle, which was the same as the other one. But you can see here it said 15% chance for an epic, which is going to end up being different when all of the other towers were 5%. You can see here on Nightmare Tower, it was 5% on the Diamond Bundle. But for Kold War Tower, it was the first tower to introduce 15% for all of these packs, which was much better than 5%, but still 15% is kind of low in my personal opinion. For Scarlet and Sonya Blade's brutality packs, they're pretty similar. There's no major changes between the 2. There's nothing more to say about the Kold War Tower besides that they had to remove it after it was aired for the second time. Besides Weather Warfare, most pieces in the tower are pretty just decent, considering you can't do dots against tower bosses. So for the Lin Kuei Tower repeat, this is what aired alongside the Kold War Tower, which is what I found pretty interesting. So for the final boss on Lin Kuei Tower, the remake, which they called it Lin Kuei Tower 2020, but this is definitely not Lin Kuei Tower 2020. This is Lin Kuei Tower 2021 because it came out in January. Whatever. Grandmaster Sub-Zero has all the epic smacks. This is the first time I've ever seen a gold at Battle 200. Like, what the heck? And then for Noob Saibot, this is the gear it had. And then for Sub-Zero, this is the gear that he had. Nothing interesting about the final modifiers there. Pretty standard. But the rewards got slashed and the epics were removed. I don't know why. The rewards are not that interesting, but the epics have been slashed out of the reward system, which kind of sucked because they increased the difficulty. The standard participation still included everything you needed to have, though. For paid packs, things get interesting. So for Lin Kuei Tower, they had to remake the packs again because, well, they didn't have any, just like Tower of War. For Grandmaster pack, it was increased to 20 equipment cards, and it was 15% chance for an epic, much better than 5%. And we had large Lin Kuei, which included 12, with 15% chance for epic. So we had 5 Lin Kuei Tower gears and 15% chance for an epic. And that was it for the Lin Kuei Tower pack, besides the Kold War Sub-Zero pack, which was a little weird. Out of nowhere, this came around. It's an okay pack, I guess. but the epic is so low, but the rare is so common. Sorcerer's Tower came out next after Lin Kuei Tower. And we had normal and fatal. Yet again, we got rid of the whole one tower for everything. And we went back to normal and fatal. And I prefer this system over the fatal only. So for the normal tower on the sorcerers, you had a random diamond. This is where things got interesting because this random diamond could be any diamond in the entire game besides a few. Nightmares, Terminators, along with the newest character in the game at the time. Which I don't remember which character was new at the time, but whatever it was, you couldn't get them at the time, but now you can get any character from this tower. Just not Joker. So boss fights are pretty typical. You should already know what tower gears are required for sorcerers, but just in case you're watching this in the future, Acid Dragon's Deadly Vial is for Reptile, and then Acid Dragon's Tekugagi is the second piece required. Lastly, Soul Reaver's Servant was the first piece for Shang Tsung, and then the last piece was Soul Reaver's King Cobra Belt. What's interesting to me is that Normal and Fatal have the same exact tower look. They didn't really change it. This one introduced Toxic Bomb for the fight here. You had Poison Dot, and it was also indestructible. This was the reward for the 200 on Sorcerer's Tower. Classic Goro, Quan Chi, Reptile, and MK11 Shang Tsung. The boss fights are pretty typical, and that is it for the Sorcerer's Tower. I really don't have to go over the packs with you because this tower has came out like 3 times now, but I will go over a few things like the Reptile Brutality pack is 20% chance for Reptile. What the heck? Why isn't it 50? I don't get that. Why are the chances so weird? It's not the same for each pack. And for Shang Tsung, it's 10% chance? What is happening? What is going on? And then just to name a few Sorcerer's Tower packs, we have the starter, which includes a 15% chance for an epic. Regular tower pack, 15% chance. 15% chance in all packs. So Sorcerer's Tower was kind of a low point in this game. Alright, Shang Tsung's Brutality was nice and all, but the tower brought nothing interesting. Not really. But the gear itself was just not that good. At least most of them were not. But then we had the Edenian Tower. This changed everything. So firstly, the Edenian Tower look was amazing. I love this tower's look and design. We fought MK11 Rain. The interesting thing about this tower is that when it came out, Classic Rain was the side character. So you could get the brutality for the new side character straight away. MK11 Rain, then we had Assassin Jade, and Katana. Now this tower was frustrating as crap. They would blind you pretty often. You get blind, you get soaked, all sorts of problems here with this tower. So this tower was a pain in the butt. So for the reward here, it was pretty cool. MK11 Jade, Circle Shadows Katana, Ronin Katana, and then random diamond chance, which included every diamond in the game, just not the newest character. This was the boss for fights for the Edenian Tower. And then we had the standard participation, which included the epic and rare, along with the common pieces, like always. For Divine Argus Cloak, that is the first piece required for Rain's Brutality. This is the second piece required for Rain's Brutality. And this is the first one for Katana. And then this is the last one for Katana. So, Edenian Tower Fatal brought one of my favorite reward systems. First off, let's have a look at this modifier though. Oh my gosh. High voltage, you have lightning strikes against you 3 times. You're usually going to get blind. And Fire God King will heal practically all of his health, but they don't tell you that when you're fighting this. But the reward here was so big. It was 5 characters, and it included MK11 Rain. It was awesome. The chance was pretty high for him. I love this Edenian Tower Fatal so much. I wish it came back instead of Sorcerers. I really do. But that was the Edenian Tower Fatal. Pretty dang cool. So let's have a look at the Edenian Tower paid packs. Firstly, we can see the Brutality packs, which includes Classic Rain and MK11 Rain. But it's 5%. 5%. We went from 50 to 5. It could have been 25 for each of these, but they made it so freaking low. And you want to know why they made the chance so low? Because the other characters are crap. For these characters, you can see here the chance is much higher because the characters aren't that good, besides Day of the Dead Katana. I think that's probably the best outlier here. Circle Shadows is okay, but Day of the Dead is the best choice here. But for the Rain Brutality pack, they really, really tried screwing you guys over. Like, honestly, I don't know why it was so low. 20% chance for Reptile. That's what I don't understand. Like, isn't Reptile one of the easiest cards to obtain? Even Scarlet had a higher chance. The newest Scarlet, which is pretty fun to play. But that's not it for the paid packs. Let's keep scrolling. Alright, so the large Edenian Tower pack. Still only had a 15% chance. And then for the Grand, you had a 15% chance. Rare, 25% chance. This is kind of interesting that it went up to 25% chance. And then 3 epics guaranteed. And the $20 bundle. So that's it for the Edenian Tower. Let's see what came after the Edenian Tower. Well, it was the Earthrealm Tower, which had a very similar design. Even the Fatal tag is the same for all 3 of these towers. The only outlier is definitely the Shirai Ryu Tower. It kind of has a weird Fatal design. Earthrealm Tower. This one was pretty decent, I'd say. It wasn't that difficult. Not really. Raiden was a hard character to fight, don't get me wrong. But this one, wasn't that hard. Some people were saying that towers got harder and harder each update. But this battle specifically wasn't that hard. Yeah, so for the tower awards, you can see here you had Classic Rain. That was a big deal. You had a confirmed Classic Rain as one of the specific rewards for a normal tower. Holy crap. That's why I like this one a lot. And then we had the standard participation. That's what it was. And for the Earthrealm Tower, you had a chance for Famous Fashion Dominator, which was for Johnny Cage. Famous Dashing Smile was the second piece for Johnny Cage. Wushu's Gandu Blade was the first piece for Kung Lao. And the second piece was Wushu's True Weapon. The bosses had pretty decent brutality gear and whatnot, but for the Fatal, the tower was even cooler. That design with the moon in the background was awesome. But the only problem with this battle was definitely that Fire God Liu Kang would constantly heal. You had Hex and Vampires. So they would gain health if you didn't kill them in time. This was a major issue. The reward was pretty decent though. Strike Force Cassie Cage, Strike Force Johnny Cage, Circle Shadows Kung Lao, Fire God Liu Kang, or Scorpion. A lot of people want this tower to come back just because he's increased so much in the chance. You can see here Epic was also guaranteed. But it's also 5 characters for this one. So for Earthrealm Tower, let's have a look at the paid packs. So for Johnny Cage, it was a 20% chance. So we saw a major decrease in the fairness of these brutality packs. We went from 50% chances to literally 10 to 20%. Who knows why the packs became more and more aggressive with trying to get your money. But yeah, everything is 20% now. Oh, man. So the Epic pack contained 3 epics. Rares included 25% chance. Diamond Bundle was 15%. Grand pack 15%. The large was 15%. And that was it for the Earthrealm Tower gears. After Earthrealm Tower, this was the hardest tower in the game at the time. Dark Queen's Tower. Holy crap. They really went overboard with this tower. They really did. Sindel is just a hard enemy fight. Bloody bomb. Your active character is affected by bleed dot until the bomb goes off and damages all characters on your team. Holy crap. Indestructible on the normal version. So one of the worst things happened with Dark Queen's Tower. You can see here, Earthrealm Tower normal. There's no indestructible modifier. But if we go to the Dark Queen's Tower normal, you can see here, the developers decided to start making indestructible on normal towers. It's a steady increase in difficulty. I think Earthrealm Tower was probably the exception to that because it was hard, but it wasn't the worst in the game, at least normal tower wise. Fatal was definitely difficult still, but this tower was up there. It had MK11 Rain as one of the chances for the normal tower reward, which is pretty good. A lot of people like MK11 Rain. Boss fights are similar. Then we have the brutality gears. So Wrestling Stars Last Puff, Jax Briggs got a major buff with this tower gear. It's amazing. And then also we have the Jaxophone, which is the second piece required for his brutality. For Melina, it's Wicked Sister's Sultry Gown, and then Wicked Sister's Festive Mask. The Fatal Tower. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This Fatal Tower was bad, guys. It was so bad. You were constantly getting blinded. Your equipments were indestructible. It was timed, of course. And they resurrected with the bloody bomb. And also, look who you're fighting. A healing team. So they resurrect. They give you a bloody bomb. They're indestructible on equipments. They can soak you. They can interrupt you with Sindel. And they can also heal from Shang Tsung because they're all MK11 characters. This was insane. If you weren't already throwing your phone across the room, this tower really made you do that. Oh, jeez. But the reward was pretty good. You had Nightwolf as one of the rewards because Nightwolf was just released in the previous update, and then a guaranteed epic. But yeah, that tower was extremely difficult and not fun to play, in my opinion, because of all the constant blinding. I don't like towers where you're blinded, all right? I really don't. It just makes it very frustrating to play. Let's see what the chances were for the Brutality packs. So firstly, we have the Melina Brutality pack. What did it include? A 20% chance, as always now, because they decided to start doing 20%. So yeah, everything is now 20%. And then we had the Epic pack, which had 3 epics. Rare included 25% chance. Grand was 15% again. Then we had Large, 15%. And that was pretty much it for the Dark Queen's Tower. It was amazing when this tower disappeared, I'll just say that. For the Elder Wind Tower, though, they had to introduce a new modifier that could make this game more frustrating. But holy crap, this normal tower was insane. You had Nightwolf, pretty decent character who could slow you down in SP2. Fujin, who could slow you down with just combo enders and also cripple you. And then on top of that, Shang Tsung. So if you even try to, do a lot of damage to them, they could just heal back everything. Yeah, this had a decent reward though. Fire God Liu Kang, MK11 Nightwolf, and MK11 Raiden. I think it's a pretty good reward, but not for all the work you put in. For this tower, you had Nightwolf's Brutality. That's the first piece required. And then we had the second piece, which was right here. Motokon Skin. Aaron's Black's Brutality was first Varmint Ace in the Hole. And then we had a second piece, which was Varmint's Lucky Hat. This tower introduced the Sandstorm, which basically just removed your chance to have any block breaking at all. And honestly, that wasn't that bad, all right? This wasn't that bad. It was just the characters you're fighting that made the modifier very annoying to deal with. But at least you could actually land a hit. So let's have a look at the Brutality gears. So for Aaron Black, it was 20% for both of them. And then for Nightwolf, it was 20%. Yeah, not surprising, but they added a gold card. Did they do that before? I don't remember that. No, this is the first ever time they introduced a gold card for each individual paid pack. They had to balance it out since you only had a 20% chance for a freaking Nightwolf. Alright, so Elder Wind Tower gear. Nothing changed. They had a lot of changes at the beginning of this game, but afterwards, they stopped changing the packs. Everything became standardized, and that's kind of the way we just expect things to go now. Twisted Tower was the last tower to be introduced in the game, and oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, this tower was extremely difficult. One for all for the normal tower, indestructible, and the dot immunity, which just remove dot immunity, okay? Mortal Kombat, just remove dot immunity. You have to. Come on. If you're gonna add like one for all indestructible, timed, you have to remove dot immunity because it is ridiculous that it's applying to a normal tower if we have all these hard effects. If you just did that, everything would be okay because we could try to get dots and bring them down and try to survive as long as possible because you're not gonna be able to kill it immediately with dots if you're not like using maxed out tower gear and stuff. For Twisted Tower, you had a chance for Sindel, Day of the Dead Katana, and Combat Cup Cassie Cage. This is the first tower to introduce a gold card as one of the 4 rewards instead of having all of it be diamonds. Cassie Cage is kind of a controversial card to introduce as a reward though. They literally could have put any gold card here that was new besides Cassie Cage. Every other gold card probably would have worked. Even Pyromancer Tanya, people wouldn't have complained. It was just because they put Combat Cup Cassie Cage. A lot of people don't like using her. Yeah, that's about it for that. But still extremely difficult. The modifiers should be different from normal to fatal. They really should. They should not be the same. But the tower rewards are much better, of course. For this tower, the brutalities were for Sindel, and they were for Terminator. Now, remember when I said that Shirai Ryu was the first tower to introduce Dark Fate Terminator as a reward? Well, this is the second tower to do that. You can see here he was a specific chance in the Fatal Tower. He has never been in normal towers ever again besides the Shirai Ryu Tower. Well, we only have 2 more packs to review. Sindel, probably 20% chance, right? 20% chance indeed. Terminators were both 10%. And then for the Twisted Tower gear, I'm sure it's nothing fancy. 3 epics, same exact chances for each individual card here. So that will give you an idea of how towers have progressed in this game, how they've started to standardize. You can visually see how towers have just been getting harder and harder, and also the rewards have been getting, well, I honestly think the rewards have been getting better and better for at least the fatals, all right? Not for the normals, but for the fatals. The fatals definitely have good rewards. The only problem with fatals is that, considering how hard it is now, the rewards don't balance it out. Even if the rewards are really good, you can still get a resell. Let me just show this to you one last time. And that is it for Mortal Kombat Mobile. Every single tower in this game has been reviewed now, and you know from start to finish where the direction of Mortal Kombat towers have gone, and what every update for the most part. I just want to take this time to shout out my YouTube members: Metalcrap 3001, Siege's Empire, Grim, Random, Noxon, Seven Zane, Reflex Vital, Fierce Wolf, MK Fire, The Mist, and Relaxation Sound. Thank you guys so much for being a YouTube member. Before subscribers are able to watch videos publicly, YouTube members will get most videos early. So if you want to be early to these videos, make sure to click the little join button next to the subscribe, and you can join with either the Rockstar package or just the Support Kude. Anyways, guys, that will wrap up this video. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, peace out.